Okay, Hector, got your radio here. So yours is the same scenario as Gabe's, so I won't bore everybody with the same backstory and everything, but yours is identical. So it went to the president and it's now back, and now it's getting service and it'll be heading back to you very soon. So here's the little mod that I've done, just adding the 0 ohm resistor, and then we'll do the transmit alignment on this and you'll be all set. Okay, so we'll do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to yours. I believe this option doesn't show up unless you complete the circuit. There you go. So I have all the settings the same as Gabe's on the menu, so now I have the span function enabled for yours. So it has everything that it should, which is cool. So we'll put this back here. Just when I come back and test it later, it'll be there. Let me check on that too and just see. Yeah, no muting, so that's a nice feature. This is with the span function on. So it's just basically like, technically kind of like this is your VFO. So you don't get any muting in between the steps of change of frequency. I like that. And it's not the only radio that does that, but there's some that don't. And actually one brand new one out, maybe they should go back in and hash out some firmware to add that in, because I think it's important. Although with that radio, I don't know how many of their clientele, the diehard users of those type of radios, would really care as much, because I think they're using this band more in the band option. So if you use this one in the band option with the span off, it's going to jump 10 each time, and it will have that momentary break. So it's just a thought anyways. So let's get this one set up for you, Hector, and then I'll get you invoiced and get you ready to head back. Okay, so this is the service portion. Obviously, if you don't have equipment, it's recommended not to adjust any of the settings here. It's not really meant to play around with. I wish I could adjust it with the up and down, but apparently it doesn't allow me on this radio, so that's okay. I don't want to go that high, but I want about 50. Which is pretty good right there. I usually set just a tad bit higher. This is going to be the middle setting, like if you were to use the power limitation. This one I believe would be the AO setting, and then this would be if you use the RF power control in the AO setting. I believe this would be the low side of it here, and then the A4, actually this would be the A4 setting would be here. I don't want to confuse you with that. It makes sense in the manual. It's just a lower power option for the radio, but you can bypass all that and just use the RF power on the outside, and then that's good for the FM power low. So now we'll go to the modulation, and that's where yours had the same thing, where I'm assuming when I key this it's going to be 000. Yeah, so we don't have very low modulation here. You can see that it's basically nothing, and that's what happened to yours as well. That's why we sent it to President. They fixed it up, and now I'm going to bring it back to life. So I'll plug in my tone generator and we'll get this thing back to working the way it should. Okay, so I'm injecting a tone. It's a 1 kilohertz tone. You can see now the amplitude of the deviation is in the hertz, which is terrible. So we're just going to go right in and turn this up. It should start to come to life soon. Yeah, you can see it start to come to life. It's a little too drastic there, but I want about 4.1. It's usually where I set it, so I'll just bring it down some. That's good, right about there. So now we have good modulation on FM. Hello radio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 makes a big difference. Okay. So now we're gonna go back in, and I'll do the AM stuff off the camera. I gotta save some time here. I'm gonna set your high carrier to 18 watts. That's actually the top carrier is what they call it in the menu. Top 18 watts, high 8 watts, mid 4 watts, and low 1 watt. And then we'll just check the modulation levels on each of those. Okay, there's the transmit frequency of the radio. Unfortunately, I can't change that, but I mean, that's so close that it's not really even worth changing, but just wanted to show that in the 5 kilohertz span there. So we're going to bring that back up to 20 kilohertz. Now we're going to go back into modulation, analyzation here, and go AM. And this is going to be the low power 1 watt. It's actually just slightly below 1 watt. That's how I like to set it. So it's really close there, 0.97. And it's kind of low on modulation. We'll say about 79%. That's how it looks up there. So we'll bring that up. Not too crazy, but about 96% is good for all these radios. And you can see that where it says depth. You can see how nice that looks there now too. So some of these artifacts here, that's due to the design of the PA in this radio. So it has that voltage board in there to give more voltage to the MOSFET. So that's what I see on all these radios. There's no change in that on any of the radios that are cross-platform that have that board, different makes and models and stuff. So it's just where we're at with it. All the radios are slightly different in firmware. Basically is where we're at with it. Here's the mid power. This is about 4 watts carrier, and you can see the modulation's about 87% there. It's not real exciting stuff here, so that's how it looks up there. Looks good. I'll go to the, see, this is what I mean. We got the setting in here for high. I'm assuming unfortunately in some instances, not all instances, I don't like to stereotype and stuff, but in some instances in the CB world, somebody gets a hold of one of these, they're just going to go in and turn them all up to full level, and that's never a good thing. So, you know, you gotta first test it, see where it's at, and then make an educated common sense adjustment. If you got the right tools to do the test, you don't even really have to think about it. You just look at it and do it. That's pretty good there. So this one was at 8 watts. That's where we started. Just a little over. Usually on these radios, as the PA in the back heats up, your carriers come up a little bit for whatever reason. It's just what I find. Okay, the top end, that's what they call it, the AM top, 18.3. Kind of missed my, I had a Bird RF sampler that was a little more selective. I have this clean RF thing now. It works pretty good, but actually I kind of like the Bird one better. I think maybe one day I'll get a coaxial dynamic. You can see there when we first keyed up with the tone, it's not doing it anymore, but at first, you know, our modulation circuit took a second to kick in. Once it kicked in, it pretty much stabilized it, which is a good thing. You know, that's there for a reason. A lot of people in the CB world, they like to go in and do these weird modifications to radios and change the circuit and disable it, and they call it an NPC or something, whatever they call it, and it just ends up creating a ton of distortion on the signal. Not distortion that you hear with the ear, but it's distortion in the RF section, and it causes things to go wonky and haywire. It's kind of almost like a common mode current situation. It just really is bad in all ways, shapes, and forms, but it just is what it is. So this is the top end of the carrier, or I'm sorry, the waveform, and then this is the bottom. Looks the same. And it's not real interesting stuff here, but just to show you. And Gabe, your radio is the same way. So I sometimes just show different things on videos and stuff is all. So that part is done. The last part we're going to do is check the modulation on this on sideband. So it's a little bit different setup here on these. So I'm going to go to 28.4. We're just going to see where it's at first. They don't allow me to actually change it while I'm looking at it, which is it's different. It's very doable, but it's just this is the only one that's like that. So we're at 28.4. It makes my job a little more difficult is all. I'm not complaining. It's just, you know, the design is different in the service portion, so we have to be out of it to first test it and see how it looks. So we'll do that. They generally don't look that good. What frequency did I say? 28.4. Okay. Alright. So I want to make sure that these two are equal, 1 and 2, so do that first. Wow, look at that. That's pretty darn close. It doesn't necessarily look horrible, but let's see where yours comes out. Yeah, it's not. It can do better than this. This 17. I want to make that around to 24, 25. And what that does is it removes any little fragments of RF distortion product that can come off the radio that you wouldn't even know. It doesn't change how the modulation sounds or anything like that. That's what might confuse some folks. They don't fully understand what I'm doing here. It just, for the guys that understand more about, you know, the TX bandwidth of what we should see on sideband and stuff, you know, if you have a radio like an SDR receiver or something, you can see that in the frequency domain as the person's speaking. And sometimes, and that's what we're looking at here too, sometimes you'll see like a shedding. They have colors, and there's an option here where I can show the colors and stuff too. I just normally don't show it, but when somebody's speaking, usually the bulk of their energy is a bright red or something like that, depending on what SDR you're using and stuff. But anyhow, you don't want to spread out too far, and if you have tons of RF distortion and you're on upper side right now, a lot of RF distortion will actually push power the opposite direction into the lower sideband, which we don't want anything there because we're not transmitting there, we're not listening there, we're on USB. So it's just small things that I do to help improve the radio. Okay, so I made some changes. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out yet, so it's a little, I'd say it's just a touch too much, so I'll quickly just a little bit more, going back the other way, and we should be good. I like it to be around 24, somewhere in that range, only because it gives the radio just a little more consistent power. But that would be pretty respectable there. Actually, that would be more respectable, but the radios are really respectable at the 24 to 25 mark. So we just need to make a quick adjustment, and that's why I say it takes me a little bit longer, because right now I'm in the traditional radio mode, and when I go into service, you can't see this aspect. It goes into this different setting, and it just gives you like a, you don't even have to generate a tone at that setting. You just put a microphone on and press the PTT or whatever, and it just automatically generates a tone. It's a nice feature if I could change it and see what I needed to see, but unfortunately it doesn't allow standard two-tone input to work. It's different. I don't know why they went with that, but that's something they must have wanted, because the rest of the radios out of the factory where this is made don't do that. Okay, so there we have it, right about where I like it, about the 24 mark. That's how it looks up there. It looks really nice. So that part is good to go. It takes me, I mean, obviously I paused the video and stuff, but it's a few times to get it where I want it, which is, you know, a little more time consuming, but the end result is we get it where we want it. It works good. And we'll move on to just the finishing thing here, which is just showing the radio now. So it's on 28.4, and just got the factory hand mic on, so it's doing just exactly what it should do there. And then up here, it's doing exactly the same amount of power basically as what Gabe's radio was doing. They do good. I mean, you know, anywhere from 60 to 70 to 80 is about where they should do, somewhere in that general area. So that was a weird one for it to kind of stop on for a minute. I've seen that before many times on radios and stuff. So we'll go down to 12 meter. You can see the chassis is pretty hot, 152 degrees. So they get pretty warm. I don't have the top on yet either, but they get pretty warm internally. If you had the fans on this, no matter what setting, if you had it in the default setting, they'd be running right now. It's fairly warm. It's not burning to the touch, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, CQ, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, CQ. So again, it's doing the rated power, which is a good thing. 24,950. Oops, I messed that up. There we go. Fix my span. That's better. Sorry for the glare on the screen. I got an overhead light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. That's how it looks there. Anyways, I forgot to show that. Let me kill that light. There we go. I don't know if the shutting the light off helps or hurts it, but again, that's our power. 1, 2, 3. So it's doing good. Now we'll go to the other band, and actually, well, I can actually see better with the light, but we'll just kind of park this, whoops, at the mid frequency, mid channel. There's AM, that's commonly used there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks really good there. We're not shedding off any power or anything even close to that into the next channel. So that's technically what we want there. Carrier, like I said, it did creep up just a little bit, just due to the fact that the radio's pretty warm. And peak envelope power still up there, 50, 60, 70, just really depends on what words I say and whatnot. So it's doing exactly what it should do for a nice, clean, respectable sound on the airwaves. Not going to be like screaming loud and in your face kind of radio performance here, but very respectable. There's that, God, I don't know what's up with that. That's really strange. But again, that does happen quite often with radios here on the test setup. It definitely does the 666 there. I don't know why, but it is what it is. So, all right, Hector. Well, obviously I'm gonna let the radio cool down before I box it back up. And there's a lot of good information in the owner's manual on these. They have pretty detailed information on how all these settings work, what these lights mean when they're on and off, and the different color settings and stuff. The president does a really good job writing their manuals. So definitely, if you need to kind of learn a little bit about the radio, reference your instruction manual. It will help you a lot with some of these advanced settings here. They're not real advanced, but you know, it's more than what we'd find on a basic like CB radio kind of radio. So and hope you enjoy it, Hector. It's my pleasure. Sorry for the delay, but due to the holidays and such and everything, we got you taken care of. So be heading back. Hopefully you'll get it shortly in the coming week. 73.